Hey, Geeks and Gamers, what's up? It's Jesse Milestone. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned into the live stream that I did with that Star Wars girl. It was amazing. You guys were so wonderful and so supportive of seeing a live stream with somebody other than Jeremy, so that was really cool. It was a lot of fun, and we'll definitely be doing it again because you seem to like it. So there's that. Before I get into today's topic, I just want to mention I'm going with this minimalist sort of no makeup look right now. I did it on my channel the other day. Overwhelmingly positive response, and that's great. I'm not worried about you guys. You guys have seen me with a beard drawn on my face. I only bring this up at all because when I mentioned it on my channel, a lot of people seem to think that the thing we needed most in the world was to have Jeremy put makeup on. So I'm gonna throw out a wager, all right? I have absolutely no ability to enforce this whatsoever, but I'm gonna throw this out there, right? I'm gonna say, I bet you, Jeremy, okay, if we, it's not really a bet, it's just a challenge, I guess. If this video reaches 100,000 views, Jeremy does a video wearing makeup. That is my challenge to Jeremy on the platform he created that he kindly lets me use. I'm gonna be fired tomorrow, guys. This is it. This is it for me. Nice to see you. Bye. No, but seriously, maybe that'd be fun. Maybe if we get this to 100K, maybe Jeremy, please Jeremy, will wear makeup for us. Because everyone seems to want that, and you are here to serve your fans just like I am. So if your fans want to see you throw on some foundation and blush and a little eyeliner, who are you to say no? Come on. So anyway, share this video with everyone you know. Make sure all your friends watch it. Not just to put Jeremy in makeup, but because the thing I am about to say is actually really important. All right, I want to talk to you guys about the dangers of solo. The thing that's actually really troubling about solo for me is the way it portrays the SJW perspective. And I know we talk about this a lot. This comes up all the time on the channel. Oh my god, SJW is terrible, evil, bad, right? And one thing that you run up against, and I've addressed this a lot on Mindless Entertainment on my personal channel, you have this push and pull from the fringes of both political equations, right? You have the SJWs here on the far left, and you have the alt-right on the right. And the alt-right's comprised of white nationalists, white supremacists, people who are generally racist and bigoted and terrible. I think we all agree on that. And what we all also agree on is that the actual people that comprise these two identities are relatively small. I think that sometimes they're smaller than we think. I think other times they're actually a lot bigger than some people think. I think there are people who think that it's like 5 people in a basement that comprise each of these movements, and it's clearly not the case. But at the same time, no, these are not the majority of people in the country. The majority of people in the country have rational, reasonable, well thought out opinions that land somewhere in the middle, right? And so everyone talks about that, and you can't bring up the right without having people be like, oh, well, those people are just a fringe majority and they don't have any power and they don't have any say. Like, all right, that's not entirely true. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about this little fringe group, the SJWs, right? Who other people will also say, oh my god, it's just a tiny, I don't really believe those people exist, and it's just a tiny percentage of the population, and like everyone just blows it out of proportion and pretends it's a thing that it's not. It's not, by the way. Like, these are not made up people. This whole idea of a crazy SJW who attacks you for your beliefs and you know, rampantly puts you in your place for things they have no business putting you in your place over. These are real people. I went to college with a butt ton of them. And I look at like the heart of it, you know, some of what they're saying with it. I don't necessarily disagree with with the root where the ideology came from. The ideology came from this need for social activism. We need to do better to have a country that celebrates equality rather than punishes people for it. That has diversity represented in all corners. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I'm not okay with the fact that they're making diversity into a bad word. How ridiculous is that? Whoever thought diversity could be a bad word? But that's just one of the little things, one of the many little things. When you hear diversity now, you immediately go, oh my god, they're going to inject identity politics into my movies and my fandom, and they're going to make this character this thing that they never were before because of identity politics, and that's what diversity brings up for you now. Diversity has become a bad word. That's ridiculous, guys. Diversity is a wonderful thing. Our country is incredibly diverse, and we're supposed to be celebrating that. But that just shows you, I mean, this group is not an insignificant minority with no power over anything. They've corrupted the word diversity, for Christ's sakes. What's next? What's next is their politics normalizing their behavior. All right, I went to college with people where I had a friend, she had a necklace, she bought it from a Native American tribeswoman, sold this to her, who made it and was like, I want to sell this to you. And this white person came up to her and said, are you Native American at all? And she was like, no. And she was like, I don't think you should be wearing that. I'm like, dude, I don't think you're the one who should be telling her not to wear it. And those people exist. Those people are real. And that behavior is not acceptable. That's ridiculous. That's aggressive bullying behavior towards people who have done nothing to earn it whatsoever. And Solo normalized this behavior. I'm not talking about the droid, by the way. I'm not talking about L337. That droid has no power whatsoever. That's just a whiny, stupid college brat who isn't doing anything and isn't making any change. So forget that. That's not the problem. The problem is Enfys Nest. All right, the problem is this character who we thought was going to be this badass, awesome villain chick who pulls off her mask to reveal she's 15 years old. That part just doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid. And then does the thing where, oh, we stand up for the oppressed and we call ourselves allies. All right, you can make a movie where there is an allegorical fight against good and evil, an allegorical group that stands up for the oppressed and things like that, and it is all shrouded in metaphor and allegory, and that's really nice, okay? But you did this thing, right? You did this thing where you took the metaphor, you took the idea, which was obscenely heavy-handed in the first place, and you attached words to it, you attached language and a name to it that exists in the real world. Because, by the way, I don't know if you know this, there are people in the real world who are, not oppressed, but they stand up for people who are oppressed and help them fight the good fight. And guess what they call themselves? Oh yeah, allies. That's a problem. Are you starting to see the problem here? I don't know if you are. All right, so obviously we know that gender politics, identity politics, things like that, SJW nonsense, has injected itself. They do have a certain level of sway over the media. I mean, the Me Too movement was spearheaded by that. There's nothing wrong with the idea of the Me Too movement, with the idea of we need to say that people who have sexually harassed other people and sexually assaulted them, that behavior is not okay. It wasn't okay when they did it, and they should still be held accountable. That's fine. But when it turns into an insane lynch mob, that's not fine. I'm sorry. When Matt Damon came out and said, hey guys, Me Too movement's great. Everyone who does these things are bad, but not all crimes are created equal. We shouldn't be coming down on people who sexually harassed a woman once when they were drunk at a party the same way we do, like, someone who raped a woman. And that sounded like a very reasonable thing to me. And he got crucified for those statements. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, there's that mindset, that mentality has its claws all over Hollywood. And now you've just normalized it in a major Hollywood movie. Well, hold on, not that major, because as we know, Solo is tanking at the box office. When I went to see it, opening weekend, that Friday. Again, I didn't pay for it. Don't get mad at me. I didn't pay for it. But I went to see it the Thursday, opening night, the very night it opened. And my theater was like a quarter full. It was amazing. But the point is now you have this normalized idea. You have somebody, you've attached language that exists in the world to Enfys Nest. She's an ally. That's a thing we recognize. We know what allies are. Okay, so now this behavior. What's the behavior? Vigilante justice. This is a person running around attacking and killing people she thinks are bad. Who, by the way, like the people that she's been, and let's think about this in the context of the film, right? She's been going after Woody Harrelson a whole bunch. Like they're basically kind of nemesises in a way, right? So she's been fucking with Woody Harrelson, basically is the reason that his wife died. So this is just another scrappy crew of diverse people who are just making it the best way they can, and they're the ones she's fighting, just because they happen to be making money in a way that she doesn't agree with, or from a company that she doesn't agree with. So that's the idea. That's like if you don't agree with a corporation's policies, that you go and murder the daily laborers. Like you go out and attack and assault the assembly line workers because you don't agree with the CEO's policies or business practices. That's essentially what she's doing here, right? And why is Woody Harrelson so bad? Again, well, because he works for a bad company, so obviously he himself is evil, not just a dude trying to make a living. All right, he's a dude, by the way, and he's white, so he's obviously the devil, and therefore we should not ever feel bad about bad things that happen to him. So you have this now normalized behavior of, yeah, it's okay to just go after these people. It's totally fine, because these are allies. Allies are good people. That's a good word, right? It's a good word. They protect people who deserve being protected, so therefore they would never attack people who don't deserve to be attacked, so therefore it's totally okay for them to go after it. You see the problem here? Do you see the problem? Like, people are, we understand, we absorb information. That's why when people say, oh, it's just a movie, that I don't buy that, right? We absorb information so much more powerfully through the media. Right? Through movies, books, television, video games, music, whatever it is. When we receive our information that way, we absorb it so much more deeply. Why? Because these trigger our emotional responses. That's how we learn. When we have a memory connected to emotion, you can think about anything you can in your life, smells, songs, etc. If there's an emotion attached to the memory, you remember it in such vivid detail. Right? That's how we learn. So the messages we send, yeah, nothing is ever just a movie or just a this, because there are people, that is how they absorb things, right? That is how they rationalize and understand the world. And when you're so obviously putting in those messages of this is the world, here's the good person, this is what the good person is allowed to do, this is what it's acceptable. Now you've made it acceptable, now you've normalized this idea that, oh yeah, it's totally fine, right? So now if a chick walks down, if anyone walks down the street and they're like, I'm an ally, I stand up for the oppressed, and they point at a white dude and start cursing them out and be like, you're the enemy, you're terrible, I hate you, we're gonna be like, oh, that seems fine, because that person's an ally, and therefore they're doing good. Therefore the person they're yelling at must be bad. You're setting up this kind of logical fallacy that people do buy into. Come on, we are a bunch of media slaves in this country, in this world, honestly. I'm not putting people down I'm not saying that, but look, that's the reality. That's how we digest our information now. We are past, like, this, I read things and whatever. We just digest the information that's given to us because it's out there all the time. We don't bother, like, it's actually really, really fascinating. If you haven't seen this episode of The Orville, which is a great show, by the way, if you're a fan of Star Trek, you would probably like The Orville, because it's wonderful. But there's a great episode early in the first season, where there's a country that's no longer governed by facts. It's governed by popular opinion, and popular opinion is what creates facts. If everyone agrees, then it's fact. And honestly, guys, that's really not that far off from the country that we live in right now, from the society, from the world. That's what social media creates. It creates people who are able to find majorities, and if they sit in that majority and sit in that majority opinion, right, they're convinced that they're right. That's why you didn't hear about SJWs before. That's why people who were bigoted and racist sort of stayed in the woodwork, because they didn't have that kind of solidarity. They didn't have that kind of support. Other people insisting that they are right, that they do have a point, and now they feel like they do. They're emboldened by it. And what makes them even bolder? To go and see on the big screen that behavior normalized and made acceptable. So that is a problem. That is a bad thing, and we need to talk about that, because that behavior is not normal. Randomly attacking and assaulting people who don't agree with you, not even that, who don't actively work to fight for the things that you care about, because that's really what this is too. I mean, SJWs, they don't just go after people who disagree with them. They go after people who don't fight for their beliefs as fervently as they do. That's insane. That's psychotic logic. Not everyone cares as much about the same things. I care about animals more than I care about people. I would much rather give to animal charities. I'd much rather support homeless animals and stop animal abuse and things like that. I am not going to crucify somebody because they would rather give to the hungry or help homeless people than homeless dogs. I'm not going to tell them they're evil for doing. That's essentially what SJWs are doing. Think of that. Think of them. If they're the animal activists, they're out there telling people feeding the hungry that they're evil because they're not feeding as many dogs as they're feeding people. I mean, that's the logic we're operating under. It is ridiculous. It is insane, and it should absolutely not be propagated in Hollywood. That's beyond ridiculous. And yeah, that's it. I don't know how many more ways to say that. It's ridiculous. So anyway, if you enjoy me yelling, I didn't really yell that much, but if you want to hear me yell louder, Mindless Entertainment is where I'm at doing the yelling stuff. So check me out there. I'll be back at some point soon for you guys. You can also buy my t-shirt. It's my face, and it says Jizzing Force all over the place. Maybe Jeremy will be kind enough to throw a link up in the description so that you can have my face on a shirt. And thanks for watching, and get this to 100K, and maybe Jeremy will wear makeup. Yay!